Greetings, comic friends. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go over one of my other collections. As you all know, my main collecting focus is comic books. But today I'm going to talk about, as you may guess from over here, and probably the title of the video when you clicked on it, my MEGO action figure slash doll, whichever you want to call it, collection. And sort of a little more importantly, talk about why MEGO, with all the other toy lines out there, why MEGO, and maybe even more importantly, why now? I haven't been collecting MEGOs for that long, so maybe within, really like in earnest, within the last year and a half or so. So I want to talk a little bit about why that is. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, MEGO are the doll-like toys from the 70s. They are definitely more doll than toy. So when people call them dolls, like I'm not offended by it. Like, I get it. they resemble more of like a Barbie or a doll than what you think of action figures today. But if you think on the history of action figures, you go all the way back, you're talking G.I. Joe, right? Which were probably even more doll-like than what MEGOs are. They were the same sort of construction, just a little bit bigger. Then, eventually in the 80s, they got shrunk down to the 3 1/4 inch, the same size as like Star Wars and stuff like that. But in the 70s, when it came to action figures and properties, MEGO was king. So you can kind of think of MEGO as today like what Funko Pops are, right? They just, whatever property was popular and out there, they had it. They had Marvel, they had DC. I'm also going to look at, for my collection, Star Trek. They had Wizard of Oz, Planet of the Apes, but they had all kinds of stuff. They had TV shows like Happy Days and Dukes of Hazzard and just any sort of popular property that was out during the time. MEGO got the license for and make figures for it, whether it really made sense or not. They also did like some play sets and vehicles and things like that. I personally only focus on the figures. There aren't many of the playsets are just kind of like they take up too much space. Vehicles, if I could get my hands on a good Spider-Mobile for a good price, I probably would. But other than that, it's really just the figures. So the properties that I have, you can find some property that you're probably interested in with MEGO. I'm a big comic person, so obviously the Marvel and DC stuff is big for me. But I'm also a big Star Trek fan. I love Wizard of Oz, and I love Planet of the Apes, so I get those as well. But we'll kind of go over what I have here. Well, just because I have them spread out all over because they take up so much space. So we'll kind of talk about how I got into MEGOs, and then again why. So I've always really enjoyed. There's my Thor. This flowing. See, this is where definitely like you can't tell me this isn't a doll, right? Look at that those flowing blonde locks. That is 100% a doll. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. It is what it is. His helmet doesn't stay on very well because his hair is, well, it is what it is. So the first MEGO I ever got was this guy here, Aquaman. For the longest time, Aquaman was my favorite hero, and I would just get Aquaman anything for a long time. The comic shop that I worked at the time that I got one in. I'm like, I have to get it. I have to get it. He's not in the best shape. His gloves are reproduction gloves. The A sticker on his belt is reproduction. He's got some stains on him on the back and whatever. So he's not in the best shape. But man, that's a pretty looking Arthur right there. So that's the only Mego I had for a really, really long time, and it was just because it was Aquaman. I've always had an interest in the history of things that I'm into. So, for example, I used to be really into video games and video game culture and all that. I used to teach a video game history course because I just loved the stuff. Even when I was young, I grew up in the age of the 8-bit NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I went back and got an Atari 2600, even though I already had a Nintendo, because I wanted to see, like, how did we get to where we are, and I always had a respect for that sort of history and learning how we got to where we are today, particularly with the hobbies and properties that I enjoy. So Mego really spoke to me as far as toys were concerned, because I used to be a fairly big toy collector at one point as well, and also just comics, right? Because they had the two big, well, at the time, really the only big superhero comic property, Marvel and DC. So Aquaman was the only one that I had for a long time, and then probably about, maybe it was a year ago, I'm trying to think, I went to an estate sale just to go to an estate sale, and it said they had like older toys, and this was back when I was kind of trying to do a flipping thing with comics, which just it wasn't for me, sort of thing. So I went to see what kind of cool toys they might have that could be flipped or whatever, or resold. And they had some cool stuff. They had some of the original, like, Shogun Warrior stuff, which and an old G.I. Joe and stuff, which I did end up flipping. And then they had some Migos. And I bought those Migos not knowing what I wanted to do with them. They had, let's see, what did I get from that lot? So they had Falcon. I don't understand this, and maybe someone can tell me. So all of their African American characters, so you can see that the molded plastic is like black skin, but the arms, these are cloth, which, I mean, the character of Falcon doesn't have an outfit with the brown sleeves. These are meant to be his arms because he's black, but underneath that, the molded plastic is the same color. Like, I don't understand why they do that, because they do it with jumping around here. Oops. Uhura as well, her legs. Like, this is a miniskirt, right? So, but the legs are covered with brown cloth. I presume the molded plastic is brown as well. I haven't undressed my Uhura to know for sure. But with the Falcon, I can lift the sleeve up and see. It's just, I don't understand why. It's just seems bizarre. Anyway, they had Falcon. They had Hulk. Although Hulk's his from the forearm on both arms were detached. They were tied on with like string. I have a friend who does a lot of 3D printing, and he 3D printed some pins for me. So Hulk got his arms back. Let's see. They had Thing. The only of the Fantastic Four that I have, unfortunately. They had Captain America with his shield. The sticker is a reproduction sticker I had to buy after the fact. Let's see. They had Green Arrow. I guess they do it with the white skin too, don't they? Huh. I guess it's... But they don't with Thor. They didn't with Thor. He lost his helmet again. That's the plastic, but with Green Arrow, it's cloth. Cloth skin. Weird. The Thor. They had the Thor, which I've already shown. They had also here Mixia's Pitalik. Just shows the plastic. Don't know why. And they had the Riddler. And they had one other. They had, seemed kind of out of place with the others. They had the Planet of the Apes soldier. And he had his, this is what's really surprising. They had his original gun with the original little thin string strap. I don't know if you probably can't see it, but it's around him. But that thing is, it's literally thread. It's incredible that that thing actually stood the test of time. So they had those, and so I picked them up because so I went to the estate sale on a Saturday, and I saw what they had, and they were saying like Sunday everything's half off. So I didn't get anything. I'm like, you know what? I'll take my chances. I'll come back the next day, and if it's still there, stuff's still there, and I'll get it. Everything I was looking at was still there. The Shogun Warriors, the G.I. Joe stuff, and the Migos were still there. I think they had some other Migos as well, but I wasn't, because I think they may have had an Aquaman. Oh, you know what they did? They had an Aquaman that was broken, and they had a Spider-Man that was broken. The Aquaman I fixed and sold it. The Spider-Man, I still have his pieces somewhere. But it was all there. So I picked them all up. And I got these Migos thinking, I can't decide if I want to keep these for myself or if I want to resell them because I got them for 50% off, and it was a good price. Especially for some of these, like the Thor. The Thor, his hammer is reproduction that I bought afterwards, but his helmet is original, his bands are original, his cape is original, his hair is good. These Migos with the hair, they come with a plastic around there to kind of keep it down in the packaging. That plastic band is still around his head. Like, that's freaking incredible. But they had some really good Migos. Like, the Thing is rare. The Captain America with a shield, even though he's missing the front sticker, having the shield. Any basically accessories are tough to get. The Green Arrow, he had his original bow. He also has an arrow quiver on his back, which I have. It just doesn't fit on him with the stand, so that's stored somewhere. So it seemed worth it to pick it up, and I was like, I'll keep them if I want them. If I don't, I can get rid of them probably pretty easily for at least what I paid for them, if not more. Obviously, I ended up keeping them and expanded my collection. So why did I keep them, and why did I keep them, and why did I think now is a good time to go in on Migos? Well, if you're on this channel, it's probably because you're a comic book person, as I am, and I have been a comic book collector for a very, very long time. You also know what the market has been like. It's been red hot. Prices are ridiculous. Prices for some things are more than what I think they should be, and I'm not willing to pay some of the prices that are out there. Again, I buy not as investment. I buy for a hobby because I love the books. I love the stuff. I love the content. I don't buy to invest or to sell or anything like that. I tried that for a short amount of time. It wasn't for me. It took more time than I was able to allocate to it, so I kind of gave it up a little bit. So whenever I buy comics, it's really just for me. And this isn't to say anything against people that sell comics for a price that I think is too much or more than what I think that's worth, because the market sort of decides that, right? If they can get their money for that money for that book because that's what it's going for, yeah, more power to you, right? Yeah, obviously. If there is a book that for whatever reason is going for $200, even though I don't think it should be worth that, if some seller can sell it for $200, good on you. Go do it. That buyer just isn't going to be me, right? So, for example, one example is was it Amazing Adventure 15, right? That's the first furry beast. That's a book I've always kind of wanted, right? I've never gone hard after it because it's not like one of those huge books. It's just one like, oh, that's pretty cool. First furry beast. I'd like to have that. To me personally, it's X-Men, which is not a property I'm super into. It's Beast, which is an X-Man that I'm super not into, and a property I'm super not into. And it's a variation of a character I'm not super into and from a property I'm not super into. So, to me, like, I don't know, I'd be willing to pay, like, $50 for, like, a fine, very fine copy of that book. But that's not what it's going for right now because of the way prices are going. Now, it's like a $100 to $150 book, which is fine. That just means it's not for me. Could I afford to get it? Sure. But what it is to me isn't worth it. And that's just one example of a lot of different things, right? I'm not buying a lot of comics right now, nowhere near as much as I used to. But at heart, I'm a collector. I love to collect things, so I focus on other things that I collect. I have, there's some Transformers stuff that I collect, and then comics, and then now Migos is kind of it. So I had these Migos lying around. I hadn't decided what to do with them. The comic market was kind of in a place where I wasn't putting as much money into it as I used to. So I had this extra disposable income that is kind of earmarked for collecting stuff. So I'm looking at my Migos like, you know what? I do really like these. I like the history. I like the properties. There is so much variation in that collectible of like there's some that you can get for $30, there's some that go up to hundreds of dollars, right? That's what I like. I want to have ones that I search over that like are big. I also want to be like, you know what? I haven't got Amigo in a while. I got $50 to drop. Let me go find one. And then things in between, right? That's what I like when I have a collectible that I like to go after. I don't want to collect something that's like it's all high price stuff. I don't want to collect something that's all cheap stuff. I like this variety. And Migos seem to really check off all those boxes. They have characters that I really like. It's the collecting style that I like. There's history behind them. So yeah, let's go ahead and go with that. So I had my Aquaman. I had that handful that I got from the estate sale. And then I just kind of went from there. I started thinking about other properties that I like, other characters I'd like to focus on. And the way that I do Mego collecting is a lot different than I do other collecting. And I don't know why. I don't know what the mental disconnect is. But for my, let me see if we can find a good example. For my Mego collection, I'll go with this. I'll go with Kirk, Star Trek Kirk. He has a reproduction symbol, Starfleet symbol, and a reproduction, I believe this is a reproduction belt, communicator, and phaser. Being reproductions is very weird to me. I should say the fact that I'm okay with it is very weird to me. When it comes to comics, I don't like restored. Restored is a deal breaker for me. I like original. There are a handful of vintage Transformers that I collect, and I might do another video about that at some point. It's a very niche collection that I get into with Transformers because otherwise it's way too big. But when I get those, I want all original. I don't want reproduction. With Migos, for whatever reason, I want them to be complete, but I'm okay with reproduction, both like stickers and accessories. I don't know why. I can't explain why I'm okay with it. Now, obviously, if I'm buying something, if I'm buying a Mego that has reproduction, I expect the price to reflect that. And given my choice, I would prefer all original, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I'm kind of okay with it. And I guess I'm not sure why that is. It's probably because I'm more interested about the figure itself, and the accessories are ancillary to it. I don't know. I can't really explain it. But I mentioned some other things with the Captain America. He has a reproduction sticker. The Aquaman has a reproduction sticker and reproduction gloves. I have a number of other figures that have reproduction things with them, and I don't mind. I really don't, and I can't figure it out. I don't know why it doesn't bother me that much. I'm not as serious about it. Maybe I have a better feeling of like these were in the 70s, super played with. But I mean, comics are meant to be super read. I don't know. It just doesn't bother me, which is really, really nice. It's nice to not have to worry about that, and there's plenty of reproduction places out there to get both stickers and 3D print accessories, because we live in the future. So it's really easy to like, the Thor, for example. When I bought him at the estate sale, he didn't have his hammer. This hammer looks really good. It's made off the specifications of the original hammer, and I'm 100% okay with that. My biggest offender is my Conan. I think... Ooh. Loose wrist. Here you can see also has the hair thing around. I don't know how the hair thing stayed, but everything, like nearly everything else on him is reproduction. The axe, the belt, the sword, the boots, the fuzzy thing, that's original, and this yellow belt is original. And the bands are original, I believe. But everything else is reproduction. He's a lot of reproduction stuff. Don't care. I'm okay with it. The price reflected it, so it was fair. So now, when I started going to toy stores and toy shows and things like that, the main thing I look for now are Migos. And it's one of those collectibles that is really surprisingly affordable. Well, maybe I wouldn't go that far. They're less expensive than I think they would be for the brand name properties that they are and how old they are, right? My Aquaman's a bad example because I got him a long time ago. And using the estate sale ones probably isn't really fair because it was a estate sale. I got 50% off. But it does really depend upon the property. But I'll say, if you want to get an MEGO, you can get some decent MEGOs for around $40 probably. $40 to $50, $60 around there. You can get some decent MEGOs. Oh, I forgot this guy. He was also at the estate sale. Penguin was at the estate sale. They're not bad. I've gotten some really, really good ones with some good deals for like the $60 range. And for a figure, you pick up, if you buy, like Mego sells new stuff today, right? Or if you get like those Marvel came out with Mego style toys a while ago, and you get those now, they're like they get them like in 2-packs and stuff like that. They're like, I don't know, $80 or whatever. But here you're getting original vintage parts of history stuff for like $50 to $60. It's insane to me. Even when you get all vintage stuff. So I think Migos are, I don't know if I want to say undervalued, but I'd say underappreciated. When I go to toy shows or comic shows that have toys, I'll ask them if they have Migos, and they'll say, at a show or whatever, they'll say, yeah, we do, but we don't bring them to the shows because nobody cares. Which I understand if people aren't asking for them, then why waste the real estate on them at a convention? But it's heartbreaking because they're just I think they're like one of the best toy lines out there. They have so much history and there's just so many great properties. Like, you know, there's something that you like, and comics are so huge right now. But anyway, so let's see what else we got. So I said I got in the broken Spider-Man. I did get a proper Spider-Man. I think at a toy store in a town, a city not far away. And this I also got at a toy store. I got Lizard. He's all original too, original pants and coat and all that stuff. He's got his tail. My Green Goblin, right? If you got Spidey, you got to have Green Goblin. He ended up being all original, which was fantastic. Let's see, dipping into DC. These stands slip out. I got a Superman. So I think a couple of things that I left at the estate sale, they had a Superman, but he was in really, really bad shape. So I didn't get him. But I'd since gotten a Superman. He is all original. And always nice. Not a deal breaker, but it's nice. And since I've gotten a Batman. And he is all original as well. And with Batman comes Robin. So Robin, he has non-cloth legs. And kind of weird. These capes you have to be careful with. It's tough to get these capes in decent shape because they end up fraying very easily, which is probably easier to see on my Captain Marvel. He has a repro sticker. I think the Robin was a repro sticker as well, but you can really see how the ends of his cape are starting to fray quite a bit, aside from being stained. But let's see. This is dang God. Sorry, that's probably super freaking loud. Catwoman. The women are taller than the men. And there's Thor, his helmet falling off again. So women are, I don't know, half a head taller than the men. Typically, especially when it comes to superheroes or what this doesn't go on you. What especially at the time were considered boy properties. Women in the quote unquote boy properties usually are a little harder to find because boys didn't care as much for the female figures, so they didn't make as many, and not many were as purchased. So usually, things like Catwoman, your Batwoman, which I do not have, tend to be a little harder to find and a little more expensive. So that's all my Marvel DC. But and that's probably the really big properties they had. The next big property they had probably is Star Trek, which I'm also a huge Trekkie fan. So I have all of the main crew. We saw Kirk, Spock. He has a looks like repro belt and phaser. We also saw Uhura. Scotty. McCoy. So the main crew is actually pretty easy to get your hands on because again, that's probably what most kids at the time wanted. What gets a bit tougher are the aliens, and some in particular. So I only have 2 aliens. I have the Uranian, which very good at reusing patterns, right? There's Green Goblin and the same cloth pattern that he had. But Uranian and Klingon are the only two that I have. There are a handful of other aliens that they had. There was a whole series of just aliens that Star Trek aliens that MEGO had, but that's all that I've gotten. The real hard one to get with there is actually the Romulan, is very rare and expensive. I also really love Planet of the Apes. They have a number of those. So I had the Soldier, Dr. Zaius, and probably most importantly, Caesar. And then the last property that I have that I'm really into is The Wizard of Oz. I probably mentioned it, I think, whenever I've talked about like Scotty Young's Wizard of Oz, I've probably come up. It doesn't really fit with this other super nerdy stuff, but I really, really love the Wizard of Oz. So I have all of the regular figures. So Scarecrow, Tin Man. Tin Man's really cool because he's all like, he has this exterior like wrapped stuff. He has the normal MEGO body underneath and a silver or gray sort of bodysuit. He doesn't fit in one of the stands because of his thick body, but thankfully he is able to stand. Wicked Witch. Now we're getting real dolly here. Glinda, the Good Witch. Of course, you need Dorothy with Toto in the basket. The Infamous Wizard. And the Cowardly Lion. Here's what's weird here with the Wizard of Oz figures. These were actually the cheapest for me. I think I got these at like $30 a pop at most, and I got them all brand new in package. I opened them up. I don't know if you can see. Oh yeah, this is all of their packages right there. I kept all the boxes. There's one more. There's the Munchkin Mayor. But yeah, I got all of those. Every single one of these was brand new, and I took it out of the box for the first time. Which I understand to most collectors is, you did what? I wanted to display them with my other stuff. That's my MEGO, right? I don't mind reproduction. I don't mind taking them out of the box. I want to display them and see them and have them standing with each other. And yeah, they were new in box, but they were only $30, and that wouldn't have been much less to get them, not new. I got lucky. It was weird. A local comic shop had all of them except for the Wicked Witch and the Tin Man. They had the rest of them all new, and I got all of those, and I made a deal with them, so I got them for around $30. So then, I went out to eBay, I need the Tin Man and the Wicked Witch, and I found one person who had both of them also new for, buy it now, $30. Well, that's fortuitous. The two that I need, and he didn't have any others. He had the two that I needed also both new. So these are all, I am the person to take them out of the box. So they're super mint. So that's most of the Wizard of Oz. There's also I think a couple play sets, like a Munchkinville playset that comes with a couple Munchkins. So it's not all the Wizard of Oz Migos, but I don't want to get the play sets, and I'm good with this. I have the main cast. There are, I think there might be one or two other Planet of the Apes figures I need, and of course various Marvel and DC, and I want some more Star Trek aliens, but I really want a full set of Fantastic Four, because I only have the Thing and I love the FF. And then, like I said, there are really rare ones out there if you really are into it and want to spend money. There's a Batman that has like and a Bat girl who has a removable cape and cowl, a removable cowl. Those go for a lot. There you're talking in the $300 to $500 range, depending upon condition and boxed and all that stuff. So it can get real expensive. So $30 all the way up to your $500 or more if you're getting into playsets and things like that. So it's one of those collectibles that, again, I just don't understand why more people aren't into it, because there's so many properties. There's such a range of things to collect, both property-wise and price point-wise. And it's just the history and just, I don't know, the beauty of them. I don't understand. But that's fine with me. If Migos aren't going to be hot and people don't care about them, great. Keeps the price down and more for me to pick up and buy. I'm okay with that because I love them. Anyway, that's about all that I had. I think I went through all that I had, all the Migos that I have, and my reasoning and whatnot. So let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on Migos? Are you familiar with Migos at all? Do you care about Migos? Do you care about Migos more now? Is it something you're interested in getting into? I'd like to know your thoughts. Or is there something else that you started collecting because of getting out, not putting as much into comics because of the high prices? I used to spend so much on comics, or just old comics, collector comics, key comics and stuff during a month, and I'm not spending it because the value to me personally isn't there, and I needed something to scratch that collecting itch, and man, Migos did it. I love them. So let me know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And, of course, don't forget to... This video was brought to you by Titan Comic Pressing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Titan Comic Pressing LLC.